Um, Thank you for coming today. My name is Robert Miranda. I am the spokesperson for the Freshwater for Life Action Coalition. I'm also a steering committee member of Get the Lead Out Coalition of Milwaukee. My work on this issue has been over the last 8 years, and I've been doing a lot of work not only in Milwaukee but around the country, organizing with various different groups and national organizations on this issue. Today, we call the press conference because there are some concerns that we have that need to be expressed and need to be addressed by the City of Milwaukee as the season begins to change regarding this issue. We all know that lead in water is a dangerous concern, is a hazard that needs to be addressed and dealt with here in this city. It's being addressed with in other cities around the country. We're not the only one with this problem. That is a problem for all of us. However, we are concerned in the manner this issue is being addressed. And with Milwaukee, the issue for us is urgency. Urgency. The urgency we feel is not there. We can see that when you look at the last 7 years that the Milwaukee plan to remove 1,000 pipes a year has only been met once. One time. We are now in 2023. Currently, as of March 17, there have been only about 30 lead laterals been removed. Now we know in the past the city has said weather is playing a role in trying to help us during the winter months get to that 100 pipes a month number. But for the last 2 winters, especially this winter, the winter has been pretty mild. And I don't think that that is a good enough excuse anymore. We're asking the city to step up its process and begin what it needs to do to meet the goal it set for itself in order to remove these pipes immediately. The other concern we have is that we have a changing of the season. And the changing of the season means that as the weather begins to warm and the ground begins to thaw and the pipes begin to thaw, the science shows that weather changes have led to increased lead leaching in the water.
It's not true.
Yes, it is.
There's no evidence of that.
I have Professor Wayne from Wayne State who I'll be happy to share that with you. Can you identify yourself, please?
Sorry, I interrupted. Continue.
Can you identify yourself, please? Identify yourself, please. I need to know who am I speaking with. I know this is from the news, but who are you?
Go ahead.
Don't interrupt the press conference. Thank you. We know that the weather plays a role in the increasing of lead in the water when the weather changes. That is scientifically backed by many research. I will be happy to share that information with you. Just email me at r.miranda414@att.net, and I will gladly pass along the research to you. The other issue that we're concerned about is that because lead is in the water in the city of Milwaukee, we have to have a more concerted effort at increasing filters to going to the homes. Filters need to be increased like they are in other cities around the country. This is a major issue for us today, and I hope that we can sit down with the city officials to go over a lot of this so that we can come up with very good remedies to protect our community from lead poisoning. With that, I'm going to introduce Robert Penner, who's also with the Get the Lead Out Coalition.
Yeah, thank y'all for being here and being willing to come cover voices that are trying to bring some accountability to the city and make sure that we can work together collaboratively on the process for lead lateral removal and the lead abatement, total lead abatement across the city, every source of lead in water, lead in paint, lead in soil. We're concerned about all of these. We want all of these addressed in order to bring greater public health to the city of Milwaukee. And one of the main questions that we want to pose is why people are still being made to pay for the removal of lead service laterals. This has been a big issue for us because we've been able to uncover historically that the city mandated in the year 1872 that you had to, if you're going to connect to the city water system, you have to use a lead pipe. And this mandate lasted between 1872 and 1950. During that time, most of the water pipes that we have in the city right now, or not most, but a big chunk of them were installed during that period. So because of this mandate, we really want to pose the question, why is the onus for paying for replacement at all on the property owner? Why is this not fully the city's responsibility? And there's some administrative, legalistic answers to that. But what we really want to underscore is that the city is a continuous institution, right? Even though the people that made this mandate in 1872 and maintained this mandate, maintained the reliance on lead pipes throughout this period, are long gone, long dead. The city as an institution still exists, and to make people pay for the removal of lead water infrastructure that they have really no choice in having installed, and that have contributed, among other sources, to the poisoning of people throughout the city of Milwaukee, we think that's pretty disgraceful that there's that responsibility is being put to the homeowner. Now there are subsidies, which we definitely think are a great thing. We think that the subsidies that are provided by the city are excellent and solve part of the problem. But if you're voluntarily trying to get your lead lateral removed in order to not be exposed to, the lead through water, and while you wait for 70 or so years for the city to get around to yours, you have to pay a much steeper cost, which pretty much makes it exclusive to wealthier homeowners to be able to voluntarily get their lead laterals replaced. So we would like to see subsidies introduced across the board, and eventually when the funding comes in, to have the cost to homeowners eliminated entirely. Now we do agree with Alderwoman Jocasta-Zamarripa about the fact that we don't also want to subsidize landlords' improvements to their homes, specifically large landlords and out-of-state landlords. So we would definitely be interested in collaborating on a plan with the city that makes sure that single-family homeowners don't have to pay at all for their lead lateral removal, but that the city is also not spending its money to subsidize improvements for landlords. Another thing that we have to be careful about there, that we want to advise the city to proceed with caution, is the fact that sometimes landlords will pass on the costs of these improvements to their tenants, and we want to be very sure that that doesn't happen, that we don't empower landlords to make this happen. Because as we see often throughout the city of Milwaukee, it's a majority renter city. We don't want to see those types of costs getting passed on from a much richer entity like the landlord to poor tenants who have already lived for a long time in a house with lead laterals. So we definitely don't want to see that. And overarchingly, we can't ignore the reasons why the pipes are here in the first place. It's because the mayor of Milwaukee in 1872, as a chairman of the Wisconsin State Lead Mining Commission, a corporation, and his cousin, the president of the Milwaukee White Lead Manufacturing Company, used this to get rich. They used this lead lateral mandate to get extremely wealthy. This is all very well recorded. You can go to the city archives and see all of this information, as well as the archives at the UWM library. So we can't ignore this fact, and we think that the city does need to take measures, whether they're legal measures or whatever needs to be done, to make sure that the onus for paying for the lead lateral removal is not on the property owner, especially the renter and the single family homeowner. And it has also been mentioned lately in the media that the city is developing a comprehensive plan for lead lateral removal, something that we've been asking for since 2018, but we've been blown off about this a few times. I tried to talk directly with former Water Commissioner Karen Detmer about this at there was an event at the Zilber School of Public Health, and I wanted to speak with her directly, when can we expect a comprehensive plan to come from the city? And she said, you shouldn't expect a comprehensive plan. But now that there's talk of it, right, we've seen in the media recently, Commissioner Pauly has said, yes, there's a plan forthcoming, let's see it. We would like it to be introduced to the public as soon as possible so that we can scrutinize it, we can appraise it in a critical manner, and see where we can work together on making sure that this plan is actually comprehensive and does the things that need to be done in order to protect the people of Milwaukee and protect homeowners from having to face high costs for lateral removal. Another thing that we wanted to bring up here today is the lead lateral removal accelerator program, which was recently reported on in the Journal Sentinel. Now, we think this is a great opportunity for the city. It's been, there's no money included in that program. We want to be really clear that this isn't a funding program, but it's a program to enable the city to potentially pursue funding from different sources. And we would like to see the city take this very seriously and to get everybody on the same page, because reports recently have kind of demonstrated that there's a little bit of a discontinuity between the departments, between the mayor's office, and between the common council. And if these political factors, right, are not working together and on the same page, then it's going to be less likely that these grants get written correctly, that the laws that need to be changed or altered get changed or altered at the city level. And so we really urge continuity from the city. We want there to be a coming together of the Common Council, of the Mayor's Office, of the departments, and of the community to make sure that we do it right, that the accelerator program is approached in the correct manner, in the most effective manner possible, in order to get extra funding from the federal government to be able to speed this process up. The last thing that I wanted to touch on is that, this federal money is good. Pursuing this federal money is really excellent. And state money is good too, and we all know the effect that the state legislature has on revenue sharing, right? And not sending Milwaukee its fair share. But we also want to underscore that we should pursue to the greatest extent a reconsideration of our priorities in terms of the city budget and moving funding away from the Milwaukee Police Department and that area of funding towards speeding up our public works projects, because there is a direct relationship between lead poisoning of children and increases in crime. We saw that in the Emer study that came out of the Zilber School of Public Health in 2019. And we've seen that in other studies coming from other cities across the country that I would be happy to share with you, that there is a relationship between lead poisoning and crime. So if we really are serious about addressing issues of crime and of criminality and of that type of thing in the city, then we should be putting more money towards prevention, public health-based prevention, and less money towards enforcement and incarceration, which has been the cycle that has been repeated over and over and over again by this mayor and the last mayor and the mayor before him and the mayor before him, going all the way back. So just to underscore some final points here, the federal funding is contingent. It's contingent upon the city doing a good job filling out these applications. It's contingent on a lot of other factors that are out of the city's control. And we can't particularly rely 100% on this money coming from the federal government, coming from the state, to be enough. So we do also need to re-examine our budget priorities here at the city level. And with that, I think I'll wrap up my prepared statements, and I'll welcome any questions from members of the press.
Yeah. The question is, why is there a reason why so many less than, I believe it's less than 800 lateral pipes have been removed per year? Is there a reason why not more have been removed?
Yeah, there's been a variety of explanations, from climatic conditions to lack of funding, and all the way up to supply chain issues. Some of these are legitimate, some of them partially are not. With supply chain issues, We did go and contact some of the other cities that are undertaking large-scale lead lateral removal programs, such as Denver, such as Pittsburgh, such as Trenton, New Jersey, and none of them stated to us that there would be, or that they were experiencing any type of supply chain issues. Now, we don't know the specifics. The department wasn't specific with us about exactly what supply chain issues they were facing.
This department.
This department, yeah. But that being said, the other cities that we checked with, they didn't report any supply chain issues. So there's a variety of factors that go into it, but some kind of come off as excuses.
You mentioned the accelerated pipeline replacement program.
Yeah.
We asked the City of Milwaukee earlier today, what their plan was to participate in that program, and they have not committed to participating in that acceleration program. What is your response, and what are your thoughts on that?
If they are given the opportunity, because I'm not 100% sure they've been given the opportunity to commit yet, but if they are given the opportunity to commit, they should commit. This is a really excellent opportunity to get some extra funding from the federal government, and if they feel like they can pull themselves together, get unified between the city departments, I think this would be a really excellent way for extra funding to be brought to the table.
Even though that funding possibly isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, the funding isn't guaranteed, and that's kind of what makes this program contingent. It's contingent on a lot of aspects, but it doesn't cost anything to fill out these or it costs little to fill out these applications. Try to change some of the local laws in order to make it easier for us to get federal funding in the future, and they might not get funding from it. That's part of the big question mark, and why there should be a larger emphasis on retooling our local budget, our city budget, to make sure that we can meet our goals.
Mr. Miranda, you said you met with President Perez before this news conference.
Yes.
What did he tell you? What did you talk about?
We talked about our meeting that we had about 4 months ago. We went over a number of the different issues that we talked about then. Alderman Perez then explained to me that he would want me to reschedule another meeting with his chief of staff. I'll be doing that after this press conference, to sit down and go over our new information with them, specifically getting more details on what we're doing to prepare ourselves for the seasonal change. I want to underscore on that issue. Calcite and calcium and all that stuff that's in the pipes have proven to be good barriers when it is against lead surface. But as temperature rises and water temperature rises, participation of the calcite and stuff begins to fall into the water. That is a concern of ours as the spring begins to come in and then we start getting into the summer. We need to be ready to address that seasonal change so that we can inform the community to increase its use of filters, to protect its families. And when we do have a home that has experienced a high blood lead level, and the city sends its assessors to do home assessments, that it's not only to test the children, but they should also test the adults in the house. That will give us better data and give us more opportunity to see where the lead is really coming from, because I highly doubt adults are sitting at home having a lead paint buffet. So the testing of our children and the testing of our adults. Did you get that? Good. That is the best thing for us to do to get the required data that we need, because the data that we're working with here in the City of Milwaukee is insufficient. That was confirmed by the Public Health Foundation in releasing its study back in March of 2020. And Tyler Weber of the Health Department stated that as well in a Health Committee meeting in 2021. We need to do better when it comes to data and protecting the health of our community and warning our people about the changes of the seasons and how it could affect their water.
Should the message be to the citizens of Milwaukee, don't drink the water in Milwaukee until it's lateral free?
Well, if it's lateral free, I don't have issues with that. My concern is lead laterals. And to quote Mark Edwards, who gave his presentation here at Marquette University in September of 2016, I wouldn't drink water from a lead lateral. And Dr. Mark Edwards is Virginia Tech University professor who exploded the issue of Flint.
Would you know if I see bubblers here in the city hall? Are this all lateral free or not?
I have no idea. That's something for the facilities director here to let you know.
You mentioned one of your concerns being residents here in Milwaukee being fiscally responsible for the replacement of these lead pipelines, and how you guys are wanting the city of Milwaukee and city leaders to step up and kind of move that funding over to this pipeline. But the EPA has identified Wisconsin as one of 4 states that needs to work on this, and it seems like it's pretty urgent. So do you guys think the federal government should be getting involved in bringing funding in an easier manner, other than kind of this discrepant matter of having to apply for grants or things like that, since the EPA is the one that's coming forward and identifying this problem?
Oh, certainly, yeah. I mean, any help that can come from the federal government to make things easier to fund these programs is an absolute necessity. The fact that the EPA has identified Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin as a place for intervention, that should, if there's that identification, that should definitely come along with funding. And so we think absolutely wherever we can get this funding, that's where we need to be taking it from those sources. But as I stated, this funding from the federal government is contingent, and a lot of this is going to fall upon the city of Milwaukee to make some difficult choices, not only in terms of the budget, but also in terms of local legislation.
And it's not only that we want to put pressure on the officials, on our elected officials, on the bureaucrats. We also have to inform the community so that the community has enough information to act as well. The water department superintendent has informed me many times, and I agree with him on this, because I see it in a lot of other cities, that when they try to get cooperation from homeowners to come in and change or do what needs to be done, they don't get that cooperation. I think that when we sit down with these officials here in the next week or so, the recommendations that will be coming from us is, landlords need to be informed better of what the situation is when it comes to the health of the people who are renting their homes. And there has to be some kind of accountability measure, like the city has with homeowners or landlords that do not address lead paint issues, similar be applied to lead and water issues, removing of the lead pipes. There are a number of ways that we can work together with the city to get landlords to begin to cooperate. We have numerous nonprofit organizations that have community organizers that can help send information, knock on doors, inform homeowners of the need to act to remove this toxic ticking time bomb out of their homes.
So what's your main concern and biggest concern right now, today?
My main concern and biggest concern is to begin the process of informing our community of the seasonal and climatic changes that are going to be happening, and that this can cause the temperature of the water to rise, and with the temperature of the water rising, the increasing of lead in their systems can also rise. And so we're going to sit down and go over how we can inform the community on ways to protect themselves.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.